I have a lot of concerns with this winter season. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be avoiding the resorts, but that also comes with some inexperience, and it's people with more experience's responsibility to teach them, and that's where people in the backcountry community should create a space for learning and not exclusion.
I think of backcountry as any terrain that's outside the ski resort boundary.
It's getting out into the parks or the forest, to the mountains, the rivers, the woods.
And that can be where you can see a lift, but you're on the other side of the gate because you know you're more reliant on yourself and your partners. Or it can be starting at a trailhead and hiking up a winter trail with some snowshoes strapped to your feet.
It can be anything from skiing that big line to meadow skipping.
Away from the road. But in the winter, that's not really true, because in the winter, an avalanche can get you right above the road too.
Winter backcountry for me means community and trust. Everyone that you go out with has mutually consented to be doing a very dangerous activity together.
It's for everyone, and it's anything that challenges you and makes you step out of your comfort zone a little bit and find your own 2 feet underneath you.
The skiers, the splitboarders, the snowshoers, but there's also so many other people out there. There's hunters, there's ice climbers, there's cross-country skiers.
Anybody who has an interest in it, anyone who wants to go out and have that beautiful experience.
It's a magical, amazing experience to be out there without anyone else around and just completely silent, and the sunlight just filtering through these spindrift clouds and snow dusting the trees. It's amazing. It's beautiful. And it needs to be something experienced by more folks.
It's theoretically for everyone, but there are still barriers to entry, whether that's gear, knowledge, mentorship, and especially location.
In these times, we're getting even more people who are getting farther out and wanting to experience the backcountry, so I think it's for everybody and anybody who's willing to do it responsibly. So when you're getting into the backcountry, like I said, right off the bat, you want to get the gear, and a lot of local retailers will help you with that. You want to get the forecast, which I talked about, and then you want to get the training.
At the very beginning, it's a matter of taking it one step at a time and not overwhelming yourself.
Play to your strengths and know what kind of learner you are. If you're someone that learns more by hearing, there are endless avalanche podcasts.
If you have internet, you can look at weather forecasts. You can look up online Avi forecasts.
Read their forecasts daily.
There are amazing books out there. There are lots of videos. There are training courses.
And we're introducing a lot more free virtual options this year. There's everything from an e-learning module that will kind of step you through the basics to like a 1-hour lecture that's just going to introduce the basic ideas. From there, I think it's really crucial for people to get into the field. So there's either just a awareness course that includes a lecture and 1 full day with an instructor in the field, where they're going to introduce terrain management and companion rescue, which are the 2 big things before you ever get into the snow science, is just knowing how to manage terrain and stay out of avalanche terrain. You can get into the backcountry every single day without stepping foot into avalanche terrain.
I think there are definitely plenty of people who would not say it's for everyone, and especially people they assume aren't as prepared or knowledgeable, whether that's from a racial standpoint or gender identity or where they're from or how much money they have.
I I think there's a lot of people that aren't welcome, and it mirrors what happens in larger society. If you don't assimilate, you're seen as an outsider and somebody trying to ruffle feathers or rock a boat. But it's really people trying to insert themselves where they haven't been welcomed, and they're just trying to create a space to be free, which is why I think a lot of people go out into these wild spaces.
You look in the guidebooks and you see homophobic, transphobic, racist, sexist names in there. And the culture builds on that, and people don't feel comfortable participating. And when you don't see yourself in there, you don't feel like you can be included, you don't feel like you're a part of that culture, why would you start in the first place?
It's not just like, okay, like bring your brown friend into the fray, right? It starts with your group. Do you have trust? Is there a space for people to be able to authentically be themselves? If they're not, that's a huge problem in your homogenous group.
I never thought that I could be myself in the sports that I loved, that I could be accepted in the sports that I loved. And that has been changing more and more, and I want to be the example that I never had. You can be a beginner and safely access the backcountry if you're with other people who know what they're doing.
Don't be afraid to ask questions, and it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to step foot on snow and have all the knowledge in the world. You just have to step foot and then start asking questions.
The real knowledge and experience comes with friends that have way more experience and that are willing to mentor me.
I had a lot of mentors that really helped guide me. You can find those by reaching out to avalanche centers and seeing if you can be a field partner and go out. You can reach out to guide services and see if they need tail guides.
So we can use guides to help introduce us to a new sport, help educate us, and help keep us on track and give us that insider knowledge that can fast track our abilities. It's also a really fun way to get to the goods.
After you take some of those lower level or more affordable courses, you can start stepping into taking certified classes like an Avalanche Level 1.
You learn about what you don't know and what you should know. Your friends can tell you, but as I experienced it, it wasn't enough, and I needed a professional to let me know.
So once you have that education, then you can turn around and be a mentor to somebody else who is just getting into the sport. And that's really powerful. Teaching is the best way for us to solidify knowledge.
Overall, I think it's a combination of all of those. The more experience you have, the better. I mean, this is coming down to your life. What is your life worth?
In terms of rules and regulations for the backcountry, there is no manual. Another thing to remember is if you're even questioning if it's a good idea, it's probably not a good idea. If anyone in your group wants to turn around, turn around.
Recognize that not everyone has the same level of experience that you do, and be willing to help out if needed. And I would say, conversely, recognize that you might need someone else's help.
We're in this space together, and to have a positive experience in the backcountry includes interacting with other people.
Being nice, just saying hello, smiling can make a huge difference.
We have a saying on our mountain bike trails that it's like 3 seconds of kindness. Just slow down, take a deep breath, like 3 seconds, and likely by that point, all animosity or you went too close or you skied my line or any of that stuff is all gone.
I think it's important to think of ski resort terrain as being backcountry terrain when the resorts are closed and we don't have teams of professional ski patrollers going out with explosives to mitigate the risk of avalanches.
You know, the backcountry is for everybody, but you want to make sure that you're doing it responsibly and respectfully. And what that means is giving other parties space, making sure that you're not traveling above or below somebody, making sure that if you're seeing other parties, maybe communicate what your plan is so that you don't surprise a team by being above them, so that you're both not in avalanche terrain at the same time.
Situational awareness is a key, and that goes from social awareness, how we treat one another, to also keep your head up, look around. Are the conditions changing? Is it dumping snow? Did you prepare for it to dump snow? Is it sunny and you forgot your sunglasses today and you're, out in the Alpine? Just be aware of what you're doing and what's happening around you on all fronts.
So it could be a busy season, and we may have new users or users who aren't as used to traveling in the backcountry, and I think just handling that with grace and being respectful and remembering where we all started.
Popular routes are going to become even more popular. If you really want to get away, it's a matter of getting up a little earlier, picking maybe a new, less known area.
I think it's important to have multiple plans. If you show up at a trailhead and it's completely packed and you see people everywhere, you might want to rethink.
There is no need for animosity, poor attitude, anything like that. Like, we're all out there, we all need this. We've all just been stuck inside for 9 months for a pandemic. We need to get outside for our physical and our mental self. So be kind, remember where you came from, and be inclusive.
If you hear anybody talking about exploring the backcountry for the first time or getting excited, if you're a ski shop or a ski resort, or you have outreach to these users who might not know we exist, try to pass the information along. We're all going to be better if we're better informed.
It's more important than ever to have wild places where we can go to keep ourselves healthy and sane and happy.
I think it's important to share the backcountry because it shows a different perspective for people. And I think a lot of Americans get one perspective in their head. They don't really get that balance, that exploration. And when you go out in nature and you're so humbled, it gives you a different appreciation for society and where you're at.
All of our outdoor areas are under so many threats right now. If we want to really change things, we need to have everyone involved. And that means embracing and welcoming everyone who wants to be a part of that, who wants to share those experiences and who wants to protect those places.
The more people that use and love the backcountry, the better our chances for protecting it well into the future. Traveling through avalanche terrain is often described as being a wicked learning environment because very often there are no consequences to our bad decisions, but we're not aware of that. So we don't get a lot of feedback necessarily. And I think it's really important to realize that the lack of negative feedback shouldn't be interpreted as positive feedback.
In every type of sport, want to know, like, how long does it take to master? And for backcountry, there isn't a timeline. It's ongoing.
If you ever run into somebody that thinks they know everything, they're lying to you and they're dead wrong. The more I know, the less I know.
If you think you've mastered it, you need to reevaluate, because that's when you're going to have an accident.
If you don't know, you don't know. And that's kind of the biggest, scariest thing for us as avalanche educators. So, like, go out, seek knowledge, ask questions, do a Google search, do a YouTube search. Just start thinking. Don't just go out there and be like, oh, I'm just gonna go ski powder. Oh, I'm just gonna go out and just start walking. Like, have a plan.
You're never done learning. You don't know it all. Especially with the snow, it's such like a fickle science that we're still figuring out and still trying to grasp, and it's as soon as you get comfortable, something changes. So I think that, you never learn it all. You've never progressed beyond learning. So every time you go into the backcountry is an opportunity to learn something new.
So the backcountry has really taught me about flexibility and being able to adjust in a moment. And I think, as Weston was saying, that quiet we get in the backcountry, that feeling of presence that it demands, allows us to be able to hear how we need to respond and react and negotiate what nature is giving us. And that's a huge, huge life lesson.
I think the single best thing about getting out there in the backcountry for me is it takes me away from everything in the day-to-day, and it allows me to recuperate and come back to daily life refreshed so that I can go back and do everything I need to do to earn a living, take care of my family, and it's just regenerative.
This is going to sound really cheesy, but I connect with nature.
When you stand at the bottom of a tall mountain, you realize how small you are. And when you make it to the top, you realize what's below you, but also how powerful you are, and that we're part of that nature, not just part of the town, the civilization, the technology that's below us.
For me, I keep going back to backcountry day after day because it's a dynamic environment. It's forever changing and forever challenging. Not even in the essence of the environment itself, but the challenges I internalize and what it brings up for me and how I get to explore myself in that physical space.
It allows you not only to experience what this world has to offer you, but you also get to experience it with other people and create community and find a little of yourself in not only those people, but the places you visit.
So the backcountry is my place of worship and therapy. You have to be immediately present. You can't be torn with, oh, this is going on in the real world, or this is happening, or this terrible thing, or whatever. You have to be super present, and I love that challenge, and I love that focus that I can just shed everything else of the external world, and I can just go out in the backcountry and focus on nature.
The combination of having to work for it, putting forth that physical effort, and climbing the skin track, and the mental effort of figuring out where you think you can safely go, combined with skiing on tracked slopes. It's that feeling of skiing powder where you feel like you're flying.